Hello and welcome back, everybody. 'Tis I, Professor Quibblefingers, third grip of the royal member, father of 47 illegitimate children, man, presumably, and, well, it has been far too long. I apologise for my long absence. My health has not been great the last 2 months, but I am hopefully now on the mend. So, let us see. Last time we spoke, and I told you one of my long tales, I had recently fallen into some bad luck after being rejected by my wife-to-be, Madam Escarina Buntington. I had been shanghaied aboard a pirate ship. Sailing to the New World, my ship was blown out from underneath me, and I ended up in the water. There I survived for weeks on end, on an island infested with water-lily birds and killer broccoli monsters. Eventually, I escaped aboard the back of a deadly man-eating shark known as Dopey Dick. Making my way off, I eventually made it to a rescue ship, only to discover that I had jumped from the frying pan into the fire. This rescue ship belonged to the deadly Dragon Empress, and I was about to have my goose thoroughly cooked. Now then, Miss Lakshmana, the maid, she will be around shortly with I believe we've got a rather delicious mocha cake today. It's got little chocolate baubles on top and a coffee icing and, well, grab yourself a smoking jacket, a comfortable armchair, sit back, relax, and allow me to pay for an extra bucket, as that leak above my prized bookshelves is getting dangerously large. And so, let us begin. I found myself to be in a fine pickle on that day. There I was, spread out across the deck of the Empress's warship, a bunch of men pointing scimitars at me, poking at me. They demanded to know my business, what I was doing on their ship, why I had ridden the shark, and why I had been chased by killer broccoli. I stood firm and told them the truth, or at least as best a truth as I could. I had been shanghaied aboard a pirate ship, bound for the New World, and had ended up shipwrecked on this island of deadly terrors. From there, I had, made my escape, and unfortunately was now in their care. Throwing myself upon their tender mercies, they looked at each other askance, and so they made the decision. I would be dragged to the realm of the Dragon Empress, and there I would face my fate. It was 10 days of rough seas and hard sailing before we eventually reached port. I was none too happy to see it, I must say. For all their dislike of my people, the people of the Dragon Empress do know how to cook rather well. And trust me, after you've lived on nothing but water-lily bird, killer broccoli, and an enormous pile of shoes, you'll eat just about anything. I did not care to ask what the meat was, whether it went tweet tweet tweet, nay, or potentially, or what, but it was edible than the same. I was paraded through town like some strange curiosity, and they dragged me before the judge, this withered old creature, his bones cracking, his eyes glazed, and he demanded to know what I was doing in his lands. I thought for a second, and thought perhaps now would be the time to play an interesting card. I stood firm and told him, "My good sir, I was an officer of the Twynford Navy, and he had arrested me on false pretenses. After being shipwrecked and struck down, I was to be released, and if not, there would be war between my nation and his." He looked at me confused, and shuffling his glasses a little and muttering into his papers, when I heard a voice reach out and challenge me. I looked up. Oh, it could not possibly be but him. Stood next to the judge was Samuel T. Philander. Oh, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him. Ooh. That man has dogged me all my life. A vile creature. He would steal your research, and your girlfriend, and your whiskey, and then twirl his little rat moustache at it. He's always been jealous of me and my rather fine handlebar, you see. And so, now, it would seem he'd managed to worm his way into the court of the Dragon Empress. He claimed that I was lying, which of course I was, and that I was here as a spy and a murderer, that I was to be put to death. And so, he turned to the judge. Send him to the gladiatorial arena. If he lives, we'll put him in the wire jacket. If he doesn't, all the better. Excuse me. Oh, I shouldn't do that. It would seem that my goose was cooked. Now, here I was, going to be killed in the second most brutal way imaginable. For the most brutal way, I can only, suggest that you look up the fate of Guy Fawkes. To have yourself hung until almost dead, your genitals cut off, your entrails drawn forth, and then be divided into pieces, and each piece sent to a different part of the country. Yeah, no. But the wire jacket is almost as bad. And that's even if I survived the whole competition. I shook my fist at Samuel T. Philander and called him what he is, a coward, bully, cad, and thief, as I was dragged from the room and thrown into the arena. It was me, alone, against... Oh my goodness. Now, allow me to introduce you to an interesting concept. They are known as the Jetty. For those of you who have never heard of them, they are strong men, religious strong men. They believe that by perfecting their muscles, they can achieve some form of enlightenment. And they are particularly used as bodyguards, soldiers, and executioners. And they have some particularly unpleasant ways of doing so. I was facing two of them. One with a spear and one with a tulwar. And they came at me together, ready to tear off my collops. I knew I was in trouble. As they lunged, they slashed, they poked at me. All I could do was run. I ran as fast as I could, scurrying up and down the walls. I am glad that, of all my talents, the ability to run away is one I have never fully lost. And so, there I was, running circles around these two Jetty. Eventually, though, they got smart. They started coming at me from two directions at once. I ducked, I dove, I did my best to avoid them. And then, I had an idea. I waited for one to approach me. He came, swinging his sword at me. And then, I did the cleverest thing I could. I ran up to him, and I headbutted him in the crotch. That seemed to get his attention, and also cause him to fall flat on his face. At which point, I started kicking. Now, I cannot suggest that you, if you've ever kicked someone with your bare feet, that you do it. It's not particularly good for your toes. That you have to hit sort of with the ball of your foot. However, if facing a naked madman with a sword, you don't really get an awful lot of choices. And so, with him down and his friend fast approaching, I snatched up his sword. I skewered the bugger through the heart. I flipped my blade out, swirled it above my head, and positioned myself ready to face my foe. It is then I realized I was in even deeper trouble. They had sent in more Jetty. There were 5 of them now, 5 against me. Spears, axes, one with a sword, and one with his bare fists. I did not dare think what would happen if that one caught me. The Jetty have a many interesting ways of killing you. Either to twist your head all the way backwards, or to drive a nail through your skull with their bare hands. Quite often they'll start by tearing off your manhood and forcing you to eat it as well, and I can't recommend it at all. So, there was not much I could do but steady myself and prepare for the fight. First came on, I dodged, I ducked, I slashed, I hacked, I took him down. The second came on, I dodged again, I thrust twice. I tore into him, cut through his solar plexus. The third, he came at me with an axe. I blocked him with my sword. I blocked again, blocked. My sword shattered. But I had just what I needed. I used the guard of the sword as a knuckle duster, and I beat in his nose. I didn't stop punching until there wasn't even a face left. That was 3. There were still 3 more. The big one and the other 2. Taking a spear in one hand and a knife in the other, I prepared myself for the oncoming throw. They had not been suspecting that perhaps I was ready for them, and so now they were taking care, making little lunges, preparing to fight, preparing to cut me down. But I was ready for them. I waited for one to slash at me. I ducked, I stooped, I pretended to fall, and a sword came down on my head, and I tossed some sand in his face. The man screamed and toppled backwards as I kicked his heels from under him. I drove the spear right up his arse and out through his mouth. I then lifted him up high, trying to hold this 400-pound bodybuilder above my head when I was naught but a little spaghetti noodle of a man. And, I then dropped him, squashing another one of them. Then the last 2 came on, and I was ready. I grabbed one of them. He tried to grab me. I grabbed him. I stuck my fingers straight in his eyes, and I squirreled them around and scooped out his brain. That left that big bugger, the one you did not want to get anywhere near. I stood, crossed my arms, and waited for him. He seemed unsure, not quite certain what he was to do. He came on, slow and powerful as a glacier. I waited, and then a shout. It came down from the arena sidings. I looked up, and there was a woman there. A woman of porcelain skin and dark black and gold robes, a lotus blossom in her hair. She stood, pointing down, said, "No, enough. This prisoner shall live. Release him." Now, I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, but I was mightily suspicious at this point. I was led from the ring, bound in chains, and before I knew it, I was dragged before this most terrible of women. She looked down at me as I looked up at her, expecting death. "Do you know who I am, peasant? You vile foreign barbarian?" I looked up at her, and she did not look like the pictures I had seen of the Dragon Empress. I had to confess, no, I did not know her. She snorted, chuckled, and put a finger under my chin. "I am the Raven Consort," she said softly, "and I think I have a use for you, barbarian man." She chuckled, and I knew that I was in for one hell of a time. And that, my friends, is where we will leave this tale for today. Thank you very much for coming along, and hopefully the next one will be out before too much longer. Cheerio, everyone. I'll see you all again soon.